It's Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. We are still here, still rocking in the Redbird booth. The place is buzzing. Sun is coming out. Things are heating up again. We're in our last moments of day 3, but I really could not be more honored and more privileged to share this story as our main event for the day 3 broadcast. I would like to welcome to the anchor desk, Quintin Smith with ERP, Elephants, Rhinos, and People. Quintin, great to be with you here. Thank you so much for making time. Man, I got so many questions, but let me just keep it simple because we obviously are talking to a lot of people who might be learning about ERP for the first time. Maybe you could share just a quick overview of who you are and what you do.
Happy to do that, and thanks for having us, Sean. I really appreciate it. So, Elephants, Rhinos, and People, or ERP for short, is a non-profit that we founded a good 10 years ago. So we're actually celebrating our 10-year anniversary this year. And it's all predicated upon the fact of the conservation of elephants and rhinos through poverty alleviation. So that's why it's Elephants, Rhinos, and People. And, it's underpinned by a strategy to acquire land, and we've acquired large tracts of land in South Africa and putting boots on the ground to take care of the animals over there.
So tell us about the scale of the problem. What are we facing? What is ERP facing?
Yes, the reason why we founded the organization is due to the poaching endemic. I mean, these animals are currently, killed at a rate of 2 rhinos per day and 1 elephant every 15 minutes for the illegal trade of their horns and tusks. And just to put it in perspective for you, it sounds surprising, but it shouldn't really be, because the average price of rhino horn on the black market is $40,000 per pound. Now, that's about the price of gold today.
Wow, that's incredible. Before we were on air, we were having a chat, and I was mentioning Quintin's South African, and was making the mention that, this must feel like it's happening in your backyard, and that's why it's more special to you. But you made the point, this is not a South African or an African story. This is a Earth story. This is a global story. Maybe you could share a little bit about what you meant by that.
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. I mean, it certainly hits home because I was born and raised there, but I've been living in the US for a good 20 years. And I think, one can relate very easily to it when it's there. But it's not an African problem. It's truly a global problem, or the planet's problem, and everybody's problem. Because in one way, this megafauna impacts the global, weather patterns, and there's some interesting studies about that. But apart from that, just for future generations and protecting something that will outlive us, is something that's a collective problem, and that we all need to deal with.
Yeah. So we are at Oshkosh, obviously the biggest aviation celebration in the world, and aviation certainly ties into what ERP is doing with your Air Wing initiative. Tell us a little bit about ERP Air Wing.
Yeah, great question, Sean. I mean, how do you bring the heaviest mammal on the planet, from aviation down to Earth? As I mentioned at the outset, our strategy is really about land acquisition. And, the more land we acquired, the more boots we needed to put on the ground. And it's just grown so big that we just can't do it anymore. It's just not not too many animals and not enough boots. So we needed an eye in the sky. So we reverted to general aviation and launched the ERP Air Wing. And the intention is to put a small fleet of single-engine aircraft in southern Africa, Namibia specifically, and because it's just a very sparsely populated country. And fly from there and fly anti-poaching missions and so on out of the sky.
So I know our viewers at home may not be able to see, but right outside the Redbird booth here, we have an NX Cub, an ERP NX Cub. We're here at the Redbird booth. Tell us a little bit about the aircraft and your relationship with Redbird.
Yes, so when we launched the program, we were fortunate that Redbird gave us a pioneering donation, which opened the door for a handful of other donors that gave us significant donations and put us in a position to acquire our first plane. So, we took delivery of it yesterday at the press release. It's standing right outside of the booth here. And we decided on Cub Crafter's NX Cub because we needed a backcountry aircraft, but we also needed one that's flexible and that all pilots can fly. And, the NX Cub is, of course, the nose wheel version of the X Cub, and extremely capable. There's really no compromise. But there's significant savings in terms of insurance and reduction in risk and things like that which is why we opted for the plane.
Well, the ERP story is spreading far and wide here at Oshkosh, including a press conference that took place yesterday. Let's take a look at that now.
Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming out. I appreciate you taking the time. I know there's a lot of other media stuff going on today, so thanks for making time for ERP to come by here and watch as we take delivery of our first airplane. And I think it's going to be the very first NX Cub in Africa.
It will be.
First NX Cub in Africa when we get it over there in a couple of months. You should all have a copy of the press release, and if you don't, Don can get that for you. We also have thumb drives for you, and they have the press release on it. They also have photos and backgrounders and a bunch of other information, and all that same information is available on a link that's on the press release out on a Dropbox site, so you can download high-res images, bios, and all that sort of thing. So with that, let me introduce Quintin Smith, who is one of the directors of ERP and .ngo, Elephants, Rhinos, and People, the nonprofit organization that's behind the whole thing. Quintin.
There you go. Thanks for that introduction, Tom, and welcome everybody. Thanks for coming over. Just a few words on ERP. So Elephants, Rhinos, and People has been in existence for 10 years, and our whole strategy is underpinned by the conservation of elephants and rhinos through poverty alleviation. And what we do is we acquire big pieces of land so that we can take care of the animals over there. And we're on track to acquire 2.5 million acres. And that's what we ultimately want to get to. And part of the challenge is, the more land you have, the more boots on the ground you need to protect them. And we got to a point where we just couldn't do that anymore and decided to launch the ERP Air Wing. Through the generous support from our friends at Redbird, Charlie and his team has just been fabulous. They paved the way for a number of other small group of donors that donated significant amounts of money. They put us in a position to acquire our first plane, and Cub Crafters helped us in any way they can to get there. And so that's our first plane. And for the second plane, we had a lot of pilots coming to us and say, look, we'd love to participate and contribute, but the donation levels you guys are talking about is not quite in our reach. So what we decided to do is to launch a signature campaign in which we'll give 500 pilots the opportunity to donate $1,000 each, and then they'll get their name on the plane and an opportunity to fly in Africa at some point. And once we have the second plane, we'll put them both in a container, ship them over to Africa, and start executing on our mission. So very excited about that. I'm going to hand it over to Brad Dam, VP of Sales from Cub Crafters. He's just been a friend of ERP and a big supporter of the organization. Brad.
All right. Well, thank you, Quintin. Cub Crafters has been building airplanes for conservation since the mid-1980s. So when first Tom and then Quintin approached us about being part of this project, we were all in from day one. Super excited about it. We think it's amazing the work that they're already doing and the multiplier effect that these airplanes will have on that work. It's going to be saving dozens of rhinos, hundreds of elephants, impacting the lives of thousands of people in Africa. So we're super excited about it. This airplane here is a Cub Crafters NX Cub. So it's the nose wheel variant of our Part 23 certified X Cub. And it's a very easy airplane to fly. One component of this, like Quintin mentioned, is U.S. pilots coming to Africa and having the opportunity to fly these airplanes. And we wanted the airplanes to be available to as wide a range of people as possible. Only 15% of U.S. pilots have a tailwheel endorsement. So having the extremely backcountry capable nose wheel variant of the airplane made a whole lot of sense for everybody involved. This will be the first airplane going. The second airplane is either in the process of being built or just about to start being built. I'd have to check our schedule. And then both of these airplanes will be going to Africa. And then hopefully we'll be able to scale it from there and have a whole bunch of airplanes doing a lot of conservation work in South Africa and Namibia.
There you go.
And with that, I think we have a little piece of paper here we need to sign.
Been looking forward to it. Let's make it official. There we go. Thanks, man. There we go.
All right, and with that, there is the
Wow.
new airplane.
Thank
and
you,
the
sir.
adventure begins.
Yes, appreciate that.
That was great. Thanks for sharing that. That was ERP's press conference yesterday. One of the familiar faces you would have seen in that video is right here next to me, Quintin Smith with ERP. Quintin, what's the next aircraft in queue for your fleet?
Yes, that's exactly the point we're at now. Took delivery of our first one, so part of the logistics to make it economic to ship them over is you need two. To put one container takes 2 aircraft. So we actively raising funds for our second aircraft. So, like I mentioned earlier, this first aircraft was acquired with big donations from a smaller group of people. But a lot of pilots came to us and said, look, we'd love to support what you guys are doing, but the donation levels that you're looking at is a bit of a stretch for us. So we kind of pivoted to the opposite end and say, look, we're going to give 500 pilots the opportunity to donate $1,000 each. And we launched the signature campaign, which is basically, if you make the donation, we'll sign your name on the plane. So it's going to be 250 signatures on the one side and 250 signatures on the other side, and it's going to be an aircraft by pilots for pilots.
That's
and,
amazing.
You'll have your name flying in Africa, until you get there to do so yourself.
That's incredible. And in doing research for this interview, just this stat jumped out to me. Over 97% of the black rhino population lost in the past 60 years. That's just staggering.
It is. I mean, the black rhinos are critically endangered. And what's also interesting is that 80% of the world's population of elephants and rhinos are in southern Africa. So, those countries, South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, that kind of area of the world.
So I didn't mean to bring it down. Certainly a very heavy statistic there. But maybe as we get ready to wrap it up, tell maybe a couple success stories or a couple happy moments or achievements that ERP has had that you could share that makes us feel like, yeah, we are making an impact. We are on the upswing here.
Yeah, I'll offset that with a sad one and then bring you back. But I think what really inspired us to do this is I personally took a photo of a little baby rhino in a rhino orphanage, and that's what we have now in South Africa or in Southern Africa, because poachers come out, they would kill the mothers because their horns are big enough and don't care about the babies because their horns are not big enough. And I tell you what, when even though you were not there next to me, but if you see that guy and this vulnerability between his brothers and sisters, it moves something in you and inspires you to do something about it. So we did, and that was how we founded ERP, Elephants, Rhinos and People. And I can tell you that the areas that we control now, and we are on track to acquire or control 2.5 million acres.
That's incredible.
So big pieces of land, because you have to control that to protect the animals. And in the areas where we have air surveillance, we've had zero poaching. So we've been able to, not reduce the safety rate or anything like that, but really bring it down to zero.
So clearly there are going to be people moved by your story, the story of ERP. For those who want to get involved, support, be a part of the story, where can they find you? What's the best place to locate you?
Yes, our website is really easy. It's erp.ngo. So Echo Romeo Papa, November Golf Oscar. For our pilots. So, you can go there and there's an opportunity right at the top of the page. It says donate, and you can go to our signature page, signature campaign page and contribute there. And we'd be very grateful for any support we can get.
Well, we could not have ended on any more special or impactful story than the ERP story, Elephants, Rhino, and People. Quintin Smith, thank you so much for what you're doing and what you continue to do. We're rooting for you. We're cheering for you in the organization. And thank you so much for making time with us.
Thank you.
That is a wrap on day 3 of Oshkosh Live. But be back with us tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Central Time for day 4, the final day of broadcasting from the world's largest aviation celebration. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm Sean Bean. Have a great day.